Insurance Debate 2020, brought to you by the Association of Kenya Insurers in partnership with Kenya National Debate Council.
Welcome to Insurance Debates 2020. My name is Gadoni Ireri. I will be assisted in judging this round by my co-panelists Anthony Mwangi and Nyabuto Nyachio. The motion for this round reads, this House believes that insurance should be a universal human right, just like education, primary health care, etc. House invites the first proposition speaker, Brian Mwendi. You may take the floor.
So, Brian Mwendi is my name, and educating you all about insurance and how it should be made a universal human right today is my aim. So, this House believes that insurance should be made a universal human right, just like education and primary health care. So what are the basic terminologies that are used in this debate today? What are the basic terms that are being underscored by this motion today? Human rights. Human rights are just any right that you are obliged and mandatory and a must for you to enjoy, right from the word go and right from the word birth. When you're conceived, those are rights that are nested on you and nobody should take them away from you. And insurance in itself, insurance is a purchase of protection against unexpected financial losses, and these financial losses themselves are protected by what we call an insurance policy. So basically what I mean today is insurance is just buying a protection for a future risk that is there in expected days to come. So what is this process of getting insured and how are you getting protected by this insurance company? So you yourself will get to know the needs that you want to be protected from your own perspective and which rights do you want, which aspect of your life do you want protected and which aspect of your life do you want taken care of by this insurance company. So you're going to get to this insurance company, sign what you call an insurance policy, get to read the manual of insurance policy and get to know that what you want is really what you want to receive. Then in that insurance policy, what they do is they'll collect what you call premiums. Premiums are this money that you pay per month or per half a year or yearly, depending on how the contract states, and that money is what will be used to secure the risk that will come for you in the coming future. So how is that beneficial and how is that mandatory and how should that be made universal human right, and to what benefit does it stand to bring in that that universal human right benefits? So currently we are living in a country whereby what we call insurance has a projection of 3% in the GDP, a projection of just 3%, and that 3% has proven to be a very huge, significant boost when it comes to growing the economy. So what if we take it to 10%, what if we take it to 50%, what if we take it to that higher number than 3%, which will be of a very great benefit because of the following case that I'm going to provide in my submission today. So we are living in a country whereby education sector is depressing. The education sector, we are seeing people dropping out of school. We are seeing education is expensive in certain amount of school. We are seeing counties that have flooded schools, that seeing counties that have poor education facilities to run that education system, in that roll out that education to that generation that is there in the country's situation. So what I mean today is currently the education sector is in depression. So what is the role of insurance in making that, whenever it's made a universal right, how is that depression come about to be happiness and that smile at the end of the day? So insurance company will bring about that security fund. That's why when you're insured, the risk of maybe your father or the person that pays school fees for you gets out of, is demised or death or whatever happens to him and is not able to provide for the family, the insurance company will come in and boost your education because you not have to drop out of school because there's no funds, there's no school fees, there's no whatever for you. So somebody else will come and mitigate that risk of you dropping out of school, and that's the role of insurance company, and that's how they're going to boost that education sector, because everybody, exclusively of age, exclusively of social class, will have to enjoy the same textbook education that is being provided in a certain country or in a certain state. So what other point that is there? What are the importance that these insurance policies or this insurance body do bring along? We are living in a country where primary health care is a very big burden. We are seeing expensive drugs. We are seeing expensive medical checkups. We are seeing expensive doctors or whatever. The medical system in itself is very expensive. We are seeing people dying out of that expensiveness that this healthcare is bringing out about. So when you bring insurance into the picture, we are seeing whereby that risk of you being not able to get the sufficient the sufficient healthcare, we'll see somebody coming in and paying for you those taxes or that money and that checkup, whatever, that checkup money that is going to see you being treated at a very affordable cost, or a very cost that of your wish, that's why you will not have to have that depressed healthcare at the long run. So insurance companies should and must be made a mandatory human rights, because they are playing a very significant role when it comes to building one specific being and one specific individual when it comes to a whole. So it has a very broad perspective when it comes to ensuring which risk and which protection. So when it comes to matters of education and healthcare, those are very primary things of any state and any country. Therefore, so whenever you don't have great education and great primary healthcare, definitely you're having a very depressed economy and a very depressed society in that state or in that nation. So to get at that depression, this insurance company, they need to come in and boost that economy sector for you. Let it educate your future people. Let it, in as much as their education in that country, in as much as there's free education, they are still seeing people missing out because of lack of school fees and because of lack of this, because of expensiveness of that school fees and whatever, and expensiveness of that system and primary healthcare. So what I mean today is going against insurance and not making it a universal human right is going against life, and going against life is going against those human rights. So insurance is a must and should be a must in this country and in this state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This House invites the first opposition speaker, Sharon Gaita. The floor is yours.
So Sharon Gaita is my name, and today I'm going to educate you about insurance. So first of all, the proposition they've given us a definition of insurance. We'll try to make it in a very simple term. So what is an insurance? An insurance is a contract between an insurer, which can be a company, and an insured, an individual, through paying a consideration called premium, so that whenever a risk or an unexpected event occurs, the insurer can pay a certain amount of money to compensate you. So panel, before us is a debate. This House believes that insurance should be a universal should be a universal human right, such as like right to education and right to primary health care. So panel, my debate coach once told me, never read a debate in chunks, read it as a whole. So panel, as the opening opposition, we find that the proposition, they fail to give us a broad definition. They fail to elucidate what a universal and not a human right entails. What is a universal human right? So a universal human right, let's first of all, let us try to demystify what universal and human right is. So yes, a human right is a right that is entitled to an individual by virtue of being a human being. That's why there is that word human. You have to be a human being so that you can be entitled to that right. So what is this universal human right? It means that every individual, it tends to distill the cultural, the religious beliefs to put them into one category. That's why it's called a universal human right. That's why there should be no distinction between people by virtue of them putting them together regardless of their sex, gender, political or social opinion. So number two, we find that the proposition, they fail to give us what are the characteristics of a universal human right and why, and so that can insurance be placed under this universal human right. So we'll try to give you like 4 characteristics, very main characteristics of universal human right. Number 1, a universal human right is inherent. You are born with it. Like a child, once a child is born, that child has the right to life. That child has the right to education. That child has the right to liberty. That child has the right to personal security. Number 2, a universal human right is justiciable. What does that mean? Justiciable means that you can institute a claim against another person. For example, a parent and a child. If a parent fails to give this child the right to education, that child can sue that parent because that's the right of that child. It is encapsulated in the Universal Human Rights, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's encapsulated in the Constitution, in our local jurisdiction, and also internationally. Number 3, a universal human right is inalienable. It cannot be transferred. It cannot be divided. For example, the right to life, it cannot be divided. That's why it is inalienable. So I've given you three characteristics of universal human right. Justiciable, it's inherent, it's inalienable, and also it is indivisible. And the last one, it's interrelated or interdependent. It means that it cannot survive on its own. For example, the right to life, you cannot say that, okay, yes, by virtue of being human, I'm only entitled to the right to life. I'm also entitled to the right of education, because education is interdependent to the right to life. I can, if I want education, I have to live so that I can be entitled to that right to life. Number three, number three question: will it be effective if we place insurance under these universal human rights? While us categorically are giving you these characteristics of universal human rights, will it be a uniquely effective solution? What will be the desirable outcome of placing insurance under a universal human rights? So under that, that reminds me of what the proposition talked about. They fail to give us, as I've stated above, insurance is a contract between an insurer and an insured. So who will pay for my insurance? Are you claiming that the government will pay for the insurance? If yes, they have failed in every other aspect. Let's start with education. Yes, they've given us free education, but why? Why are there strikes happening? Why are there strikes happening because of teachers? Why is there poor performance why is there deplorable conditions in our schools, especially in rural areas? What the proposition are telling us, it's in fact very true. But is it important? No, it's not important. If we follow their direction, we will be doomed. In fact, insurance to us is just a scam. Thank you.
Thank you. This House invites the second proposition speaker, Thr Kabarak. You may take the floor.
Thr Kabarak, ladies and gentlemen, is my great name, an African name. This House believes that insurance should be a universal human right, just like education and primary health care. My able partner told you about universal human rights, that they should be free, undeniable, and indivisible, just like the right to education, the right to health care. If we look at these universal human rights, are we really getting most out of them? The right to education, the right to health care. I have come with a solution. They have told us insurance is a scam, but insurance is our ticket to sustainable economic development. Let me start with the example of right to education, which is a universal human right. And we also want insurance to be a universal human right. So under education, insurance will come, and education, as feeble as it is, with the many challenges that it has, insurance will come and help us with the education sector. That means that our children will be given quality education, not just the free quantity education that the government is giving us, but when insurance comes, that every child is covered, they will get access to quality education. That is SDG number 4. Let us look at healthcare, primary healthcare, which is a universal human right. How will insurance come and help us? Yes, healthcare is a universal human right, but what is the situation in the ground? As youths normally like to say, kwa ground vitu ni different. When you go to a hospital, you will be requested for money. And some services are free, some services are not free. Is the healthcare really free? As of now, we are trying, we are in the process. When the government has come with the universal healthcare coverage plan, which was piloted in several counties. But what will insurance will come and do is ensure that this universal healthcare coverage plan will be catered for. That not only will you have funds for that, but people will also have personal medical covers, which will not only insure them, but also their family members. It will come and help us. It will commensurate and enable access to these other universal human rights. Number one, I want us to understand this thing. Insurance is not a burden. Insurance has not come to steal our money. Insurance has not come to kill us and take us out of our comfort zones. Insurance, as I said, is a ticket for sustainable development. In that, it is helping us to gain access to quality education, access to quality healthcare, Even let's look at the types of insurance covers, like the personal accident cover, which even covers for people with disabilities. If you get, for example, an accident and you become disabled, they can even help you get a wheelchair. You can even be helped to get artificial arms and legs. Because we have been talking about empowerment of persons with disabilities. It is time for these persons with disabilities to be empowered. You never know when you might get a disability when you get an accident, because nobody knows the future. But let us, because we have the chance to take care of our future, let's take care of our future right now. Let us take insurance as a primary universal human right. When we have been hearing of cases of fire and people are complaining that they are losing millions and millions worth of money in terms of losses. What insurance will come and do is ensure, even if you have insured your property, at least when there is a fire and you've lost property, you will get compensated for that. Businesses will be supported, because even under the domestic package policy, which covers fire or lighting, it also covers accidental discharge of flow of water and theft and vandalism. We're supporting the small businesses that are vulnerable to the uncertainties of this world. We cannot be sure about tomorrow, but we can protect our future right now. The future of our children, ensuring they get access to quality education, ensuring they get access to quality healthcare, ensuring the small SMEs, which is the backbone of our Kenyan economy, ensuring, because they are growing. The small SMEs, not big, these companies that give us a lot of money. The small scale, medium enterprises are the ones that are funding this economy, the Mama Mboga economy and the Juakali economy, because the insurance covers for them. There's even insurance covers for people with their cows. You know, you insure your cow, and if it gets sick or dies, you get compensated. Our small scale farmers, you go, because insurance is very broad. Insurance is not what you have heard, that insurance is only this or it's only that. Insurance is very broad, and it encompasses every aspect of our lives, that we are protected, that we are, our security is nurtured. And I will finish with this. AU Agenda 2063. And one of the aspirations is an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women, youth, and caring for children. Let us protect the lives of our children, our women, persons with disabilities, and everybody. Let's protect our future.
Thank you. And finally, this House invites the second opposition speaker, Daniel Wachira. The floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, and members of the panel, my name is Daniel Wachira Mutua, and I'm on the opposition team of the motion that this House believes that insurance should be made a universal human right. And firstly, I'll start by rebutting the proposition whereby they said that the insurance, whereby they said that I would like to ask them the first question, whereby, are you aware of lost premiums? And you claim that insurance companies don't steal money. I would like to inform you that we all know that the insurance companies are very notorious when it comes to money laundering, and they always try their best to compensate the least amount of money possible to any person who has suffered a loss. And I will proceed to my first point, whereby our capital or the country is always aimed at ensuring that people get the equivalent to what they work for. And there's always, and I always once say that there's no free lunch, even in Freetown. And by giving insurance for free to everyone, this might, in one way or another, might facilitate laziness. And whereby one person may think, let me just drink alcohol, and then I'll just relax. And once I get sick, once I get the liver cirrhosis, I'll be taken to the hospital, and the hospital will just cater for my health, and everything else will just flow smoothly. Secondly, I'll talk of abuse and corruption, whereby the companies, the money that is given to these companies is prone to abuse, and by those in authority, and also the corruption by the government. This is because there's no accountability of these funds. For instance, if we were to say that the money allocated for COVID-19 the COVID-19 funds is meant for insurance or for insurance of everybody, we can see that this money has already been misused in when they are trying to cater for COVID-19, whereas the people in the rural areas and the other hospitals, the district hospitals and the dispensaries don't have the proper protective equipment for their health, to protect them from contracting the disease. And also, I'll proceed to the next point, which focuses entirely or more on SDG 10 and SDG number 1. SDG 10 is focused on equality. This whereby when the government is restrained, it will tend to borrow money from abroad. Let's give, for instance, Kenya. Kenya has been borrowing money from China. And let's say, for instance, if we start today to give the insurance for as a universal health human right, if we start it today, Kenya will be, the country will be forced to borrow more money to cater for these people. And that money will result into raising the taxes so that we can repay our debts. That will result to suppressing, and it is against public policy, and it will suppress the local mwananchi. Just like he said about Mama Mboga. Mama Mboga, let's name them Mama Mboga, the conductors. Will they accept this insurance, but they pay more? Will they? I don't think so. Next, I'll talk about the SDG number 1, talking about poverty. SDG number 1 aims at eradicating poverty in the country. Let's say, for instance, in the country, when insurance premiums, or when the government caters for insurance, the taxes will increase, and when the taxes increase, there will be little profit for these small-scale farmers and all the people who sustain the economy at the lowest level. And this will result to an increase in poverty, thus discouraging the success of the SDG number 1, that is no poverty. The next point will be about unsustainability. The next point will be about unsustainability. The population is fast growing in the country or in the world at large, and if you tell the government to take care of each and every individual's health, that is not sustainable. I can give you an example with education. There are so many private schools that are really catering for, that are really helping, or rather catering for the education of these students. The government is trying as hard as it can for free primary education in public schools. The pupils in public schools, you'll find that one teacher has more than, let's say, 60 pupils, and that's not in order. Now let's refer to this other part of health-wise, whereby not taken. Let's refer to this other part of health-wise, where the population has already increased. The government is trying to sustain these people to their best of health, and the government is trying to sustain these people to their best of health, and it will be unable because of this increased population. And in conclusion, I can say that insurance must not be made a universal human right. This because it is impractical, it is unsustainable, and it will lead to abuse of power and corruption, abuse of the funds, and a lot of corruption and money laundering. Thank you very much.
All right, the motion before this House states that this House believes that insurance should be a universal human right, just like education and primary health care. Now, what does this motion, what are the burdens that this motion imposes on the House? On proposition side, proposition needs to show us why insurance should be considered among the other universal human rights that are recognized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So if proposition can adequately show us this, then they take the day. And if proposition can counter and show us that insurance does not in fact qualify under universal human rights by the definition that fits the rest of the universal human rights, then they also take the day. So what were the cases brought before the floor? So one of the strongest cases that proposition brought was to show that adding insurance under the other human rights would be able to complement the other rights that were present. For example, if you had a life insurance policy, you would be able to cater to dependents. This dependents would then be able to access good quality of education, good quality of healthcare, good food, good quality of living. So Proposition's strongest argument came to a fore in that they stated that this would be able to complement other rights and give rise to them. Now, opposition's case was anchored on the argument of, would this be too costly for the nation? Now, when this argument came up, it became a question of, do universal human rights rest on the question of how much monetary value you place on them, or on the dignity of the human people who will benefit from them? Now, understanding that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was created to preserve the dignity of the people, an argument on costs might not have been able to carry the debate, because healthcare, education, good quality of living, good housing, all carry a monetary cost, but are still considered under universal human rights. Yes? So for this reason, and because opposition was unable to show us why insurance did not fit the bill of universal human rights as they exist currently, but proposition was able to show us that insurance could in fact complement the other universal human rights that exist. This is why we felt that proposition in this case carried the day, because they showed the link between human rights and insurance, and why insurance should be considered under universal human rights. Thank you.
Insurance Debate 2020, brought to you by the Association of Kenya Insurers in partnership with Kenya National Debate Council.